Hi everybody, Reva here with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and today we're going to do a fun little project. I don't know about you, but I love getting handmade gifts, and it seems like a lot of times people who sew don't make something for someone who sews because we figure they could make it, right? Or maybe they'd say, oh, she didn't do that great of a job, or whatever the case is. But you know what? The reality is we love getting things that are handmade because we know what goes into it and we appreciate it probably more than the average bear, right? So one thing that I think is a great gift, and maybe it's a great gift in my mind because I'm in so dire need of new pot holders, but pot holders. They're easy to make, they're fun to make. It just takes scraps or orphan blocks or whatever you want to do, and you can make a really super cute pot holder. So I'm going to walk through some ideas that I have for creating pot holders, and join me, right? So these are really, really fun to do. Now let's talk about the guts of a pot holder first, right? So a pot holder is supposed to protect our hands, or maybe you can use it as a trivet. It's protect the surface of your countertop. So what you want is some batting in here to make it comfy. However, maybe just one layer of batting isn't what you need. So here's what I like to use. I will use one layer of Warm and Natural, right? And this is Warm and White. If we're splitting hairs, this one is the Warm and White because I have white in my square. I'll show you that in a minute. So this is just a piece of Warm and White, and then this is a piece of the Floriani Hot Cold Barrier Fleece. And if you can see, I'll hold up the big piece of this. If you can kind of see how it has that reflection in it. There is I don't know, it's like a spaceman suit. It has some sort of magic metal barrier. I don't know what it is. I'm not a chemist. I just am a user, right? Anyhow, but what this does is it helps protect both your hands and whatever surface from extreme temperatures. It's great to use if you're making a casserole cover, a hot pad, even like a placemat or a table runner. This is great because then it doesn't matter what you set down where. It also is great for lunch boxes because it insulates. And that's what this is. It's this magic insulating business. But it has some batting on it, so it has some nice loft to it. So it's nice and soft. And you have one side that's whiter than the other. The other is really silvery. So I usually will just put the silver to my batting, and then I have like a soft and fluffy and a soft and fluffy. Okay, so now this stuff is great to have on hand, and I encourage you to have some on hand if you're like me and I get a notion that I want to do something, I want my supplies right there. So the Hot Cold Barrier Fleece, I was going to look to see if so this isn't the label. I was going to see how much is on here, but it's a yard by, I don't know, 50-something inches, I think. Don't hold me to it, okay? So I'm just going by memory. But that's what I want to have. Now, my pot holder of choice is 8 by 8. I find that to be a really comfortable size to fit in the hand. It's big enough that I can get my whole hand around it. My husband could get his hand around it. And you know, because some pot holders that are too small, then you end up burning yourself because they just don't cover the whole surface. So I like this size. So I've cut some batting bigger than 8 by 8. So I have some extra around the edges. So let's talk about what you can use for your pot holders. So I just have some scraps. Maybe you just have scraps of fabric you want to just put together. You can stitch it together. That's really cute. Maybe you have little orphan blocks, little ones. Maybe you have big ones, or just scraps of fabric. You can do whatever it is you want. So let's talk about how you're going to prep your fabric. I'm going to put that to the side because I don't need it. But I'm going to take one of my squares here. And aren't these cute? I don't even know what they're from, but they're just doggone cute. So they're going to make darling pot holders. So I'm going to take let's flip this over. I'm going to take my backing and I'm going to put it right sides down. And then I'm going to put my fluff on there. And it doesn't matter if you have the cotton batting up or the cotton batting down, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to take my block. Now my block is 8 by 8, and you can see that it is smaller than my batting. My batting and everything is at least 2+ inches larger than this. Then what I'm going to do is take my glue stick, because I want to hold it in place, right? I'm going to take my Quilter Select glue stick, and I really love this glue stick because look at that, you can see where I put it, and then it will dry clear. It goes away, the color goes away when it dries, but what's really nice is you can see where you've put the glue, and then it dries quickly, and then you can stitch through it and it won't gum up your needle, which is really awesome. And you know what? We can put a couple of stripes of glue on the backing too, just so we know it's not going to shift on us. The batting is pretty much, you could do it to the batting too, but it's pretty much, the fluff kind of has a friction that keeps it together. Now, for a little added oomph, I'm just going to take a couple of pins and I'm going to just pin just inside my blocks, just to hold all the layers, just an extra layer or bit of security that they're all going to stay together. Okay, and then you're going to quilt this, and you're going to quilt it however you want to do. On this one, I might do just a stitch in the ditch along the pattern, call it good. On this fabric, and this is another way, you don't have to have an orphan block, you can just do a fabric. And this is actually, I used a dish towel to do this, and then I just did the cross hatch for the quilting pattern on that one. And then here is my fabric that is from that. Now, I prefer to have a curved corner because then I don't have to miter them, right? So I have a curved corner there, and what I use to do that is this is the Creative Grids multi-curved ruler. So it has different degrees. Can you see how that one's narrower and this one's these ones are bigger? So they depends on the radius that you want. And so you can just set it there and use your rotary cutter, or what I like to do when I'm working with this is just take a pen and draw it, and then I know that I have my 4 corners nice and smooth, and then you can just use either your rotary or your scissors to go around and get that nice curve. And the nice thing about using this is that you have the consistency of the radius no matter which, your whole project will be the same, which is really, really nice. So I love having that in my repertoire. Okay, now let's talk about our little piece here. I have gone and I have done a straight stitch around the edge really close. So I'm going to take it over to this camera because I think we can see a little bit closer. There you can see a little bit of the dimple there. See how just about 1/8 of an inch away I have stitched, and that stitches down all the layers. Okay, and that will get it ready for binding. But before we talk about binding, let's talk about the patterns that I've used here, because this was really fun. Now, I don't have a lot of quilt patterns that are Christmas related, but aren't these the cutest things ever? So what I used to do that was just some scraps of fabric, and I used the Quilt Builder card deck. I know some of you probably have this, and I am excited that you do, because this is really, really fun. So on the card, it will show you the block, it shows you the pieces that you need, and it's all laid out right there. And here's a big layout in grayscale of the block itself. And this is this one. Cool, huh? But what's really neat is on here, it shows you need a rectangle, you need a square, and the pieces you need. But it will tell you, here's the size piece you need if you're doing a 6-inch block, an 8, a 10, 11, or a 10, a 12, or a 36-inch block. So you can know just by pulling this out exactly what size to cut what, and then you just put it together the way the diagram shows. Isn't that cool? So how easy is that? So this is just filled with different patterns. It has 40 different patterns in this box. So you're not going to be wanting for a holiday project. You can make it little, or you can make it a full wall hanging too. Wouldn't that be fun? So fun. Okay, so let's talk about doing our binding. We're gonna move over to the machine now, and we're gonna get binding. Okay, so I hope if you have any questions on anything that we've done so far, just let me know. I am going to probably use some clips. I've got my quilt clips here, I've got straight pins, and I have my handy dandy Quilter Select glue stick. Now, one thing that I am going to use is I am going to actually use bias. So this is binding that is on the bias, and the reason we want bias is because it has that stretch. See how that goes? And what that's going to do is allow us to go around the curve. So there's the trade-off. If you have a square pot holder, you're going to miter your corners, which is not difficult. And if you have curves, you need to do actual bias. Whereas if you're going to miter a corner, you can have straight of grain. But if you're going to go around a curve, you really need bias because you need it to be able to do that curve. Now, on my pot holders here, I did two different ways. I added a little hanging loop on this one, and there's no hanging loop on this one. This is my preferred way because I don't hang pot holders. I put them in a drawer. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding the binding on, and we're going to start in the bottom. Okay, so when you start or stop something, right, and it's going to be, there's going to be a seam, you want to stay away from centers and the top, right? We wouldn't want to start or stop up here because because it's going to be really obvious. Okay, we also don't want to start and stop right here. So I'm going to actually start over here, because then when we come back and we go over the top of it, we can finish right here. Another thing to do is try to start or stop somewhat away from a corner so you don't have to navigate a corner with your with the endings. Okay, so I've got my bias here. It's all nice and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just start by clipping it. This is really easy because we're just going to be going around the bottom, around the edge. And when we get to the curve, try not to pull it around the curve, because then that's going to make your little edges bunch in. Kind of give it some grace, give it a little bit of slack there, and then go straight. Okay. Now the other thing to know is that the one that we start with is going to be our end. This is going to be visible because it's on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm actually going to clean it up a little bit with my scissors. Just going to make a nice little flat curve or flat edge there, and I'm going to fold that under, and I'm going to take my glue stick. Gotta get them out there, and I'm going to put a little glue on that edge, and then we're going to fold that under, so that way we have a nice clean, no raw edge right there. Okay, so we're going to put that on here, and we're going to start to stitch, and we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric. So we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch of the way, and I'm going to try to not pin because I'm being brave. Okay, so I see the 1/4 inch line up on my machine, and I need to thread the machine, and I love the Soprano for that automatic threader there, the semi-automatic threader. It's really a wonderful advanced needle threader. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and put my foot down. I just have it on a regular straight stitch, and I'm going to stitch a couple of stitches forward. Then I'm going to go backward because I want to lock in that bottom edge, and then we're just going to stitch around. Now as we go, I was trying to do this so I wouldn't get my hands in the way, but guess what? My hand's going to be in the way. Okay, So let's see, you can see that, I think. So we're going to just go ahead, and I've kind of manipulated the fabric so it's a little bit fluffy. Right here it looks a bit fluffy, and if you get to a point where it's gonna, you don't want it to cause a pleat, so you can stop, raise the presser foot, and then just maneuver your fabric around so it's nice and smooth, and then we'll keep going. Okay. I have this at a slow speed, which is actually making me feel pretty confident right now because I don't want it getting away from me. Okay, so we're just going to keep sewing around the corner. And curves are really not hard to sew. And no one says that you have to sew fast. I know some people think that that means that you're a pro. If you're experienced, you must sew fast. That's not necessarily the case. And so you can go as fast or as slow as you want to. And now that I'm on a straight, I'm going to speed it up a little bit and just stitch right along that. And then when I get near to this bottom curve, I'm going to stop and start arranging my fabric. Just have it go around. Even out your the little ruffles that it makes. Because it's going, since we're doing the raw edges together, then the extra fabric is going to the inside of the pot holder, and so it's causing extra bulk in here. What we're striving for is flat where we're stitching, right? You want that to be flat. Okay. All right, I just want to get around so that way I can show you, but you know, we can hang out. And if there's, I wonder what kind of holiday projects are you guys going to work on this year? This is a really fun, fast one because you can do multiples all at one time and then get them, just sit down and do your binding all at one time too. And then you have some nice hostess gifts that you can take over. You can put this on top of a tin of cookies, and that's really thoughtful, right, to have something like that. So really fast, fun, and easy. And even better is that if you do them ahead of time, you got it. You just pull one out of your cupboard, you're ready to go. Okay, I got a big chunk of a pleat right there. I don't want a pleat. Nobody wants a pleat in their binding. Okay. Around we go. Okay, so we're coming back. This is our final curve before we get to where we started, which is really easy. And you're going to see how we're going to finish this. Is this how you finish a nice quilt? No, it's a pot holder. So we're going to do this kind of the easy way. And again, I'm going to manipulate that fabric. I don't want to pull it because I want to make sure as best I can that I'm not going to have a buckled corner or a corner that is pulled. Okay, get those all into submission there. Okay, so here we go. We've got our end coming up here. So what I'm going to do is get to just, I can feel where that is. See him right there? I can feel him. So I'm going to get to about there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off to the side now, so it's underneath. Can you see the difference in the stripe there? That one right there is the bottom, and this is the one that we're putting on top. And I am just going to curve that so that way we can get it off of our, we don't want to have both of them show, okay? So let me show you how that looks. So when we take this, can you see how that's angled off now? So that way we can trim it and it's not going to be in the way. So I'm just going to cut him off. Hold your breath, hold your tongue right. Make sure, you know, let's hope, right? Anyway, so then we're going to start turning that to the wrong side. And we're going to just work our way around. And then we're going to just work our way around. And then here's the question. Ramona says, so when using the heat filling, I found it doesn't handle hot very well. What do you suggest to make them able to handle the heat better? Well, I suppose it depends on which type of thermal that you're using. You could just use 2 layers. If I was using my cast iron pan, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing, when I'm using like even my cast iron pan, I know that gets super duper hot. I will use 2 pot holders because I know that that is a consideration. So if you want to make sure that this has unlimited capability, maybe try using 2 layers of the hot cold barrier fleece, and then that will give you a better one there. Stay away from, if you can, anything with a lot of polyester in it, because the heat, it will conduct heat, and it will also it's sensitive to heat, so it might melt. And so a lot of, if you have a pot holder with a polyester type batting, that actually might even feel hotter because it has the poly. So what I've done is I've stitched this on, and I'm just gonna flip it to the back. You can pin it. Here, let me show you real quick over here on this one. And so I'm going to flip it to the back right here, right? You can pin it, or what I like to do is my favorite glue stick, run that right along the edge, and then fold it to the back, give it some love, and then it's held in place so you can do your stitch in the ditch. And stitch in the ditch means you're going to stitch right in the seam line, right there, and just follow that all the way around the edge, and you're done. And here's the join that I did, right? And so when that's to the back, you're really not going to see that very much at all. Right? So really pretty cool. All right, so that's how easy it is to make a pot holder. And yeah, if you want to make it more heat resistant, put 2 layers in if you want to. Use a heavier fabric. If you're using a thin cotton, maybe if you have like a cotton canvas, you can put underneath your cuteness. That will also give it some more heat insulation. So Ramona, I hope that helps. But anyway, I hope you have fun, and I hope you can make some really holly jolly cute hot pads, and you can make them out of whatever you want. But what fun, right? And they're easy to make and easy to have on hand for a hostess gift. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week.